The final Gambit, Chapter 1. The calm before the storm. The silence in the Dominion war room was deafening, a cold, suffocating quiet that seemed to press against the obsidian walls like a living thing, deep within the heart of the Empire, where the very air thrummed with suppressed rage and desperate ambition. The most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered around a holographic display that painted their defeat in stark, humiliating detail. Empress Zexana stood motionless at the head of the crystalline table, her 6 arms folded in perfect symmetry, each adorned with the ceremonial gauntlets of conquest that had not seen true battle in over a century. Her compound eyes, normally a brilliant azure, had darkened to the color of deep space, a sign that even her most trusted advisors recognized as the prelude to annihilation. 17 supply depots, she said, her voice carrying the weight of collapsing stars. 43 escort vessels, an entire battle group. The words fell like hammer blows in the chamber, obliterated by a species we dismissed as primitive vermin. The holographic display rotated slowly, showing the smoldering wreckage of what had once been the Dominion's most secure shipping lanes. Human vessels, sleek, predatory things that moved like shadows through the void, had struck with surgical precision, vanishing before the Dominion's mighty fleets could even target them. Generalvek, his scarred carapace bearing the marks of 100 campaigns, dared to speak. My Empress, perhaps we underestimated. Zexana's voice cracked like a whip. I watched a single human vessel cripple a dreadnought with nothing but cunning and desperate courage. There, Admiral Chen. She paused, tasting the name like poison. She has turned our own strength against us, made us look like fools before the entire galaxy. The massive screens around the chamber flickered to life, showing real-time intelligence feeds from across the Empire. Rebellion was stirring in the outer systems. Subject races that had cowered for millennia were whispering of freedom. The Dominion's iron grip was slipping, and everyone knew it. But no more, Zexana continued, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any roar. Humanity's rise has been nothing short of a nightmare for the Dominion. The hidden fleet, their surprise attacks, the destruction of entire supply lines, edge blows struck with precision. But now, the Dominion has one last card to play. Their response will be swift, and it will be final. She gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show the Empire's military reserves, thousands upon thousands of vessels that had been held in strategic reserve for over 2 centuries. Ships that had never known defeat, crewed by warriors who had never tasted failure. The time for half measures is over, she declared. The time for negotiation is over. We will mobilize everything, every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We will show this galaxy what happens when you dare to challenge the Dominion. The assembled commanders exchanged glances. Some showed excitement, others fear. All understood that they were witnessing the end of one era and the beginning of another. Whether it would be humanity's end or their own remained to be seen. Chapter 2. The Dominion's full-scale retaliation. The forge worlds of Kethver had not seen such activity in 300 years. Shipyards that had lain dormant roared back to life, their foundries blazing with white-hot fury as they birthed vessels of war. The very planets groaned under the weight of the Dominion's mobilization, their surfaces scarred by the urgent construction of weapons that defied the laws of physics. Commander Kekstar stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Inevitability, watching as the greatest fleet in galactic history assembled around him. The dreadnought was a monument to Dominion might. 12 kilometers of armored fury bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Yet even this behemoth was dwarfed by the Omega-class vessels that flanked it, each one a mobile fortress capable of glassing entire star systems. Status report, he commanded, his voice carrying the bitter edge of a warrior who had tasted defeat and found it unbearable. All battle groups are responding, Commander, reported his aide, a young officer whose enthusiasm had not yet been tempered by the realities of war. The 3rd Fleet has arrived from the Outer Rim. The 7th is holding position at the hyperspace Nexus and the new experimental ships, the Phantom Killers, Kekstar said with grim satisfaction. Show me. The main screen shifted to display a group of vessels unlike anything in the Dominion's traditional arsenal. Sleek, angular, and bristling with sensor arrays, they had been designed for one purpose: to hunt down and destroy humanity's elusive hidden fleet. Their hulls were coated with adaptive armor that could shift its properties in real time, and their weapons systems had been specifically calibrated to counter human tactics. We will not be caught off guard again, Kekstar muttered, remembering the shame of his previous encounters with the humans. This time, we finish it. The fleet was assembling in the Nexus, a massive space station that served as the Dominion's primary military staging ground. From his position on the Inevitability's command deck, Kexter could see the full scope of the armada. Battle cruisers formed the backbone, their weapons batteries capable of reducing continents to slag. Stealth ships prowled the formations, edges like apex predators, their cloaking systems making them visible only as faint distortions in space. And at the center of it all, the experimental vessels, the Dominion's answer to humanity's technological advantages. Incoming transmission from the Empress. His communications officer announced Zexona's image materialized in the center of the bridge, her presence commanding immediate attention from every officer present. Behind her, the war room's holographic displays showed the full extent of the Dominion's military might. Warriors of the Dominion, she began, her voice carrying across thousands of ships through quantum-encrypted channels. For too long, we have allowed this infestation called humanity to spread across our galaxy. They have struck at our supply lines, embarrassed our fleets, and dared to challenge our rightful dominion over the stars. The camera view shifted to show the assembled fleet, a sight that would have driven lesser species to despair. Thousands of vessels arranged in perfect formation, their weapons charged and ready, their crews burning with the desire for vengeance. But today, we remind the galaxy why we are the Dominion. Today, we show them what happens when you dare to bare your fangs at the apex predator. We will obliterate their worlds, scatter their fleets, and ensure that no trace of their rebellion remains to inspire others. She paused, letting her words sink in before delivering the final blow. We will wipe them from the stars. Their hidden fleet was a fluke. Now we bring the full might of the Dominion to bear. There will be no more surprises, no more victories. This time, we finish it. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in reverent silence. Around them, the fleet began to move, thousands of vessels aligning themselves for the hyperspace jump that would take them to humanity's core systems. The Dominion's patience had finally run out. Chapter 3, Humanity's Response. Unseen Strategy. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the Emergency Council, her weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of the holographic displays that surrounded the chamber. The intelligence reports were clear. The Dominion was mobilizing everything. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier they could muster was being thrown into this final gambit. "They're coming," she said simply, her voice carrying the weight of command that had seen her species through its darkest hour. "Our intelligence networks confirm it. The largest fleet in recorded history is heading for our core systems. They mean to end this war with a single, overwhelming strike." Director Martinez, head of the Colonial Defense Initiative, leaned forward in his chair. "Our fleet strength is barely a tenth of theirs. Even with the hidden fleet, we're outnumbered. 50-1, 60-1, Chen corrected grimly. "And those are conservative estimates. They have weapons we've never seen before, armor that can adapt to our tactics, and commanders who've learned from their previous defeats." She paused, studying the faces around the table. "If we meet them in conventional battle, we lose." Simple as that. The silence that followed was broken by Dr. Elena Vasquez, the chief architect of humanity's cyber warfare division. "Then we don't fight conventionally." Chen nodded, a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Exactly. The Dominion thinks they can crush us with their might. They underestimate our ability to fight on our terms. It's not about power, it's about precision and adaptability. We have the advantage now. We'll strike them where they least expect it." The holographic display shifted to show a three-dimensional map of the local star systems, with projected Dominion fleet movements marked in threatening red. Chen gestured, and the display zoomed in to show a series of seemingly unrelated locations: fields, abandoned mining stations, derelict space platforms. "We're not going to meet them head-on," she continued. "Instead, we're going to do what we do best: hit them where they're vulnerable and disappear before they can retaliate. But this time we're going to do it on a scale they've never seen." Captain Rodriguez, one of the Hidden Fleet's most successful commanders, studied the tactical projections with professional interest. "Multiple simultaneous strikes. More than that," Chen replied. "We're going to make them think we have fleets we don't have." The Hidden Fleet will be split into rapid response groups, each one equipped with the new holographic projectors. We'll create false fleet signatures, phantom squadrons, and ghost attacks that will keep them guessing about our true numbers and capabilities. She gestured again, and the display showed a complex web of attack vectors, supply line disruptions, and infrastructure targets. While they're chasing shadows, we'll be hitting their real weak points. Dr. Vasquez's cyber warfare teams will infiltrate their command networks, sowing confusion and disrupting their coordination, will turn their own size against them, make their massive fleet a liability rather than an asset. The room was silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a battle plan, it was a complete reimagining of how humanity would fight this war. "What about casualties?" asked General Thompson, the grizzled veteran who commanded the colonial marines. "This kind of operation, ... The risks, ... double quotes, are acceptable," Chen finished. "Because the alternative is extinction. The Dominion has shown us what they're capable of. They've given us a choice, submit or die. Well, I choose a third option. We fight smart, we fight dirty, and we fight to win." She looked around the table one final time, seeing the determination in their faces despite the overwhelming odds. "For every ship the Dominion sends, we send 10 more unexpected strikes. They believe they can overpower us, but what they don't understand is we fight smarter, not harder. This is our strength." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. Chapter 4. The Battle, a Clash of Titans. First indication that something was wrong came when the Dominion fleet dropped out of hyperspace to find their target. System apparently empty. Long-range sensors detected no human ships, no defensive installations, nothing but the cold void of space punctuated by the occasional mining platform or communications relay. "Where are they?" Kekstar demanded, his compound eyes scanning the tactical displays with growing frustration. "Intelligence indicated major fleet concentrations in this system, sir," his sensor officer reported. "I'm detecting minimal civilian traffic. A few freight haulers, some automated mining drones, but no military vessels of any significance." Kekstar's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Had the humans fled? Had they abandoned their own colonies rather than face the Dominion's wrath? It seemed unlikely. But the first explosion lit up the void like a dying star. It wasn't a ship that died, it was an entire supply convoy that had been trailing the main fleet, loaded with fuel and ammunition for the extended campaign. The attack came from nowhere, striking with impossible precision before vanishing back into the asteroid field from which it had emerged. "Contact," the communications officer's voice cracked with surprise. "Multiple bogies bearing 27 Mark IV. They're gone, sir, cloaked or jumped to hyperspace." Before Kekstar could respond, another explosion rocked the fleet. This time it was a scout ship caught in the open and obliterated by weapons fire that seemed to come from empty space. The Phantom attackers were using the system's asteroid belt as cover, striking from concealment before disappearing again. "Deploy the Phantom killers," Kekstar ordered. "Find these cowards and destroy them." The experimental vessels moved with deadly grace, their adaptive sensors probing the asteroid field for any sign of the hidden human ships. Their weapon systems were charged and ready, their crews eager to prove the superiority of Dominion technology. "They found nothing, sir," the sensor officer reported, his voice strained with confusion. "I'm detecting human fleet signatures in 17 different locations. Some of them are ... contradictory. The same ship appearing to be in multiple places at once." Kekstar's eyes narrowed. Holographic projectors. The humans were using technological tricks to confuse their sensors, making phantom fleets appear where none existed. It was a clever tactic, but it wouldn't save them. "Ignore the false readings," he commanded. "Focus on confirmed targets. Launch fighters to sweep the asteroid field. Drive them into the open where we can." The lights went out, not just on the inevitability, but across the entire fleet. Ship after ship went dark as their power systems failed, their weapons offline, their communications dead. In the space of 30 seconds, the most powerful fleet in galactic history had been reduced to a collection of drifting hulks. "Emergency power," Kekstar roared, but his voice was lost in the chaos that erupted across the bridge. Officers scrambled to restore basic systems while damage reports flooded in from across the fleet. "Sir, it's not battle damage," the chief engineer reported over the emergency communicator. "Someone has infiltrated our computer networks. Our systems are being systematically shut down by external commands." Cyber warfare. The humans had somehow penetrated the Dominion's quantum networks and were turning their own ships against them. It was impossible, unthinkable, and yet it was happening. That's backup power slowly restored partial function to the bridge. Kekstar watched in horror as his fleet began to tear itself apart. Ships that had been disabled by the cyber attack were falling victim to the very asteroid field they had been using for cover. Gravitational forces pulling them into collisions that their maneuvering thrusters couldn't prevent. "Status report," he demanded. 40% of the fleet is completely offline," his aide reported. Another 30% is operating on emergency power only. The Phantom Killers are trying to restore their systems, but the humans seem to have anticipated our countermeasures. It was then that the hidden fleet revealed itself. Asterisk. They emerged from behind the system's gas giant like avenging angels, their sleek hulls gleaming in the distant starlight. Not the massive armada that the Dominion had expected, but a handful of ships moving with perfect coordination and deadly purpose. They struck at the disabled Dominion vessels with surgical precision, their weapons targeting critical systems rather than attempting to destroy the massive ships outright. They're not trying to beat us, Kexter realized with growing horror. They're trying to humiliate us. The human ships moved through the Dominion formation like predators among prey, their weapons fire calculated to disable rather than destroy. They were making a point, demonstrating that they could have annihilated the entire fleet if they had chosen to do so. As the battle reached its climax, Admiral Chen's voice echoed across the emergency channels, her words carrying clearly through the chaos. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Colonial Defense Force. You came here to destroy us. You brought your entire fleet, your most advanced weapons, your finest commanders. And now you're floating helpless in the void, defeated by the very species you dismissed as primitive." The transmission cut to show the tactical situation, the mighty Dominion fleet scattered and helpless, while the human ships moved among them like sharks among minnows. For every ship the Dominion sends, we send 10 more unexpected strikes. They believe they can overpower us, but what they don't understand is, we fight smarter, not harder. This is our strength. Chapter 5. The Aftermath. The Dominion's shocked the retreat was a rout. Ships that had entered the system with the confidence of conquerors limped away with their hulls scarred and their crews shaken. The mighty Dominion fleet, reduced to a fraction of its former strength, struggled to maintain formation as they fled toward the hyperspace jump point. Kexter stood on the bridge of the inevitability, watching the tactical displays with the hollow gaze of a warrior who had seen his entire worldview shattered. The ship's systems were still partially compromised, flickering between normal operation and emergency power as the cyber warfare programs continued their insidious work. "Casualty report," he said quietly. 17 ships destroyed, 43 disabled beyond immediate repair, his aide reported. "The humans... They could have annihilated us. Instead, they chose to send a message. The message was clear. Humanity had evolved beyond the struggling colony species that the Dominion had first encountered. They had become something new, a force that could match the galaxy's greatest military power, not through brute strength, but through innovation, adaptability, and the kind of desperate courage that came from fighting for survival. "Sir," the communications officer reported, incoming transmission from the Empress. Zexana's image materialized, but the supreme confidence that had characterized her earlier broadcast was nowhere to be seen. Her compound eyes were dim, her ceremonial armor dulled by the weight of defeat. "Commander," she said simply, "report." "The humans... double quotes," Kextar began, then stopped. How could he explain what had happened? How could he describe the feeling of watching his entire fleet reduced to helplessness by an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move? "They fought on their terms," he said finally. "Not the way we expected. Not the way anyone would expect. They turned our own strength against us, made our numbers meaningless. They... double quotes," he paused, searching for words. "They fought like nothing we've ever encountered." The transmission ended without another word, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Chen watched the Dominion fleet disappear into hyperspace. The victory was complete, but she felt no satisfaction. This battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The Dominion would return, probably with new tactics designed to counter humanity's advantages. "Status report," she requested. "Minimal casualties," Captain Rodriguez reported. The Cyber Warfare Division performed flawlessly. Our false fleet signatures kept them confused while we struck at their real vulnerabilities. The entire operation went exactly as planned. Chen nodded, but her expression remained troubled. "They'll be back. This defeat will only make them more dangerous, more desperate." "Maybe," Rodriguez agreed, "but they'll never underestimate us again. And that might be the most important victory of all." As the human fleet began to disperse, returning to their hidden bases and safe harbors, Chen composed a message that would be broadcast across the galaxy to human colonies, to neutral worlds, and to the Dominion itself. "The Dominion thought they could crush us," she began, her voice carrying the weight of authority that had seen her species through its darkest hour. "They sent everything they had. their most advanced ships, their finest commanders, their most devastating weapons. But we fought on our terms, we fought smart, and we won. The message included tactical recordings of the battle, showing the mighty Dominion fleet reduced to helplessness by human ingenuity and determination. It was propaganda, certainly, but it was also truth. This is just the beginning, Chen continued. The Dominion has ruled through fear and overwhelming force for centuries, but today, we've shown the galaxy that they can be beaten, not through matching their strength, but through refusing to fight on their terms. She paused, looking directly into the camera with the steady gaze of someone who had seen the worst the galaxy could offer and refused to yield. To the Dominion we say this: we are not your subjects, we are not your victims, we are humanity, and we will not go quietly into the night. Every world you threaten, every colony you attack, every act of aggression you commit will be met with the full force of our resolve. We have shown you today that your empire is not invincible. Tomorrow we will show you that it is not eternal. The transmission ended, but its effects would ripple across the galaxy for years to come. In the outer systems, subject races looked up at the stars with new hope. In the Dominion capital, military leaders locked themselves in emergency sessions, desperately trying to understand how their greatest fleet had been defeated by a relative handful of human ships. And in the void between the stars, the hidden fleet continued its work, striking at supply lines, disrupting communications, and slowly but surely proving that the age of Dominion supremacy was drawing to a close. The war was far from over, but humanity had sent a message that would echo through the galaxy. They would not be broken, they would not be conquered, and they would never stop fighting for their freedom. In the end, that might be the most dangerous weapon of all. The battle for humanity's survival continues. But on this day, in this moment, they had proven that even the greatest empire could be challenged by those who refused to accept defeat. The Dominion would return, stronger and more determined than ever. But they would face a humanity that had learned to fight not just with weapons and ships, but with the kind of unbreakable will that had carried them from their home world to the stars. And in that will, perhaps, lay the seeds of victory.